Hi, this is Ken for the staff of the Bryant Museum. We're glad that y'all are following us, keeping up with us on our social media accounts. We're going to do audio recording today with Major Ogilvie. Major, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ken. Glad to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. I guess the first question I had for you is, are you wearing one of your national championship rings right now?
But I do not. I don't do well with jewelry, so I keep them in the vault. But anyway, those are something I'm very proud of.
And you have the unique opportunity to decide which one of those you're going to wear.
Well, it's a lot of fun to talk about them, and especially with some of the competing schools out there. But at the same time, those were great years for us, and certainly enjoyed them a whole lot.
And we have some questions from our followers on Facebook, and I'll do some of those as we go through here today. But let's start out by you telling folks what you're doing today and how things are going for you.
Yeah, things are going great. First of all, I've got three children, Morgan and Bear Riley and Collier. They're all out of school now, all graduates of the University of Alabama. My wife, Jane, too. And so as a family, although this is a really unusual time for all of us, they're doing great. I work with Ready Mix USA here in Birmingham. I work in government affairs, business development. I've been here since July the 1st, 2003, and so coming up on 17 years that I've been working here and really enjoy it. Enjoy the building part and seeing buildings and playing a role as far as the role that our products play there.
You know, Coach Bryant and really his family now have been a big part of your life. One of the questions they have posted for us is, are there anything that you learned from Coach Bryant that you passed on to your children?
Oh, multiple things. I think, you know, the great coaches, if you will, do more for their players than just teach them how, in my case, to play football. And I think there's not a day that goes by, just like we say our prayers every day, that I don't think about something or relate something that I heard or learned from playing for Coach Bryant. You know, as I started to say and expand on, when great coaches do more for their players than just teach them how to play football. And I think that's the reason that all of us, meaning former players, have such an appreciation, a reverence, just a deep respect for Coach Bryant and all the things he did for us.
You know, you had the opportunity to work with Mark Tyson. Do you see any similarities, anything that make you think of Coach Bryant when you're working with Mark?
Oh, very much so. Both are great leaders, and in a leadership that I think all of us respect and appreciate. I think it's something that they carry very much in common is the fact that you always know that they care about you, not only as a player or an employee, but as a person and your future and your family. And so means a lot. It's been a lot of fun for me.
I guess I didn't set it up well for folks that might not know. That's Mark is Coach Bryant's grandson.
Yes, very, very much, and only grandson.
When you think about the wishbone, you know, when you come from high school, did you already know what was going to happen in that situation? Did y'all play that in high school?
No, we actually ran the veer, and if you remember, Ken, the veer kind of had a open window there in the early 70s to the mid 70s where it was a very popular offense. Similar to the wishbone, but the wishbone actually outlasted the veer, in my opinion. But they were similar, other than the fact that the veer did not require as much blocking from a running back standpoint as the wishbone required. And I think the wishbone had a lot more finesse with it than the veer did as well. So similar type offenses in terms of the points of attack, but significantly different without the third person in the backfield.
Yeah, and I was going. You led me into my question. I was thinking of. So you had to learn to block, or is that something that that came to you that you already knew how to do? You know, that probably was important. If you did block, you couldn't play really the wishbone,
Well, there were two rules to be a running back at Alabama besides giving it everything you got. But number one, you couldn't fumble, and number two, you had to be able to block. And you're exactly right. But um, I would not say that I was a very good blocker when I got to the University of Alabama. And again, it was just because I never really, the offenses that I was involved in never really required that much blocking. And the schemes were a lot different from that standpoint. But I struggled with it my freshman year. But then during spring training, there were a couple of things that happened for me that it was kind of like the lights went off. And that's really where I felt like I excelled as a blocker. That happened that spring of my between my freshman and sophomore seasons. And but besides just getting used and understanding the flow of the wishbone, Coach Bailey pulled me aside one day and he said, he put it in terms that made sense to me. He says, you don't really have to knock somebody down, but you got to understand that the defensive guy is going after the ball. So if you stay between the defensive player and the offensive player, meaning the running back, then you're making the block. And that just made a lot of sense. And then with a little bit more practice, just really honed on the fact that if you block somebody from the running back position and the wishbone, rather than shooting at their knees, you really had to shoot for the hip. And it helped my head to stay between the defensive player and the running back who had the ball.
And when you think about what running backs get to do or do today, they have to do more of the pass blocking, but they're in a very different situation than you were in the wishbone.
Oh, very much so. Blocking today is so much different, and we didn't really do that much pass blocking, as you well know. In the wishbone, we did some, but there's so much more finesse involved in blocking today. The wishbone was a north and south type offense. You didn't do much going east and west, but today, the offensive line, as large as these folks are, it seems like to me it causes them to have to pull and push and, screen, and blocking is a lot different than just firing straight ahead like we used to do.
Another question from the fans is, how did it feel to see your son wear the Alabama jersey?
Oh, well, naturally, of any father, and of course, as good as the university was to me and as good as the university was to him, I was very proud to see that. And I'll always be grateful to Coach Saban to give Morgan the chance to be on the team. As you mentioned a little earlier, I was on 2 national championship teams, and Morgan was too. He likes to tell me that only one of ours was unanimous, whereas both of his were unanimous national championship teams. So just FYI, another similarity that we kid each other about was that I was a freshman in the 77 class, and our teams were 44-4. And at that point, we were the most successful 4-year group up until the 2008 class from a winning percentage. And I think the 2008 class was 47-5, and we were 44-4. So I haven't checked that to see, but that's another thing that he likes to kid me about too.
Well, we have our math lesson for the day, so all our fans can figure out the winning percentage for us and post it on the comment section here. But
yeah,
I think the rings are what count in the long run. I think that's the math that needs to be added up there. So. I'm looking at some questions from the fans. When you think back to those days and what the players go through today, things are a little bit different press wise. The social media things are out there. Talk a little bit about how those things might have changed and how maybe some of those pressures are different for today's players.
Yeah. So, as you know, there's so much more presence on players today from uh, a media standpoint. I mean, it's a constant interaction, and I think a lot of that, is controlled. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It was controlled when I was at the university, and it's controlled today to a certain extent because you just can't handle all the volume of media that might come your way. But I guess the simple answer to your question is the difference between when I was playing, you had 3 games a year as a possibility to be on national TV during the season, and then bowl games were on TV. As you know today, every single game that you play in is on TV. And so it's just a terrific amount of interest in players at the university and at college football programs. And so, the media itself has grown. I mean, ESPN was not really around when I was playing.
We're talking with Major Ogilvie today. Appreciate you being with us. He's been a great supporter of the museum through the years. One last question or two here before we run out of time. There was a quarterback named after you. What did you find out about that? And have you got a chance to meet Major Applewhite?
Well, I have. As a matter of fact, Coach Moore and Major and his father and my son Morgan and a couple of his buddies, we first time I met with Major was actually right there at the Bryant Museum, and Coach Moore provided the when we met, and we had a good time right back there, back in your office. We were sitting, and I want to say that was it was at the Auburn game. Gosh, Ken, that's been probably 15 years. It's been longer than that. It's about 2003, 2002. Major was still at Texas playing, and I think it was after his junior year. So that's the first time we met. His father and I continue to keep in touch, and we talk every 3 or 4 months, which, as you know, Major started in high school down in New Orleans, and that's where they were from at the time when he was playing football, and then eventually went to Texas. But we remain good friends and keep up with him, and really proud for all his accomplishments as well.
Yeah, he's working for Coach Saban now. So
right.
We're glad to have him and have that. That's another proud thing to have somebody named after you. That's pretty special.
Yeah, well, I especially a good player as he is, and he and his wife Julie and their children. So really happy for him, and happy he's, quote, as you know, back at the University of Alabama.
Well, we appreciate your time with us here today. Again, I thank you for being such a good supporter of the museum through the years. Anytime we've ever asked Major for anything, he says yes right away. Done a lot of signings, and we want to have you back very soon once we get past this situation. Have you back to the museum, and all our people watching and following us. I want you to share this video, this recording with other folks, and let them hear Major's talk here today. Major, I'll give you the last word. Why don't you give people a little pep talk here and help everybody be safe and get through this situation?
Well, Ken, you're exactly right. These are unusual times, but we've been through a lot in this great country, and we'll go through this and in this great state with this great university. But it's always my pleasure to be with you, and gosh, to come down to the Bryant Museum and look around just brings back so many good memories at the University of Alabama for me and my family. So thank you for everything that you all do to make it as enjoyable as it is.
Major Ogilvie, everybody. We appreciate your time. Thanks for following us. Roll Tide, and everybody be safe.